She stepped up as my wife and handled that. And there's been many times where I've been at my lowest, and she's always been the strongest to get me back up to like, get back out there. You gotta get back out there and do what you do. Don't worry about what's happening over here. I'm gonna handle that.
Snoop Dogg's entire reputation, the loyal husband, the devoted father, the leader of a whole hip-hop household, might be standing on a story that was never real. And not a small lie either, but something so big it could flip the entire image of one of music's most famous families. People close to him are saying he recently got DNA results showing that none of his 4 children with Shante Broadus, Cordell, Corey, and Julian, are biologically his. This isn't just neighborhood talk. This is legal level chaos, and word is Snoop is already preparing for divorce.
The turmoil and the stuff that I put her through in my journey on becoming successful, because I had no understanding of what I was doing her, how I was hurting her.
With one mission in mind, by exposing the truth no matter who gets hit by it. For almost 30 years, the Broadus family looked untouchable, like a fortress nobody could break into. To the public, Snoop and Shante were the couple that stayed strong in an industry known for betrayals and messy endings. Married in 1997, renewing vows in 2008 after a rough patch in 2004.
Well, she just a strong black woman off the tippy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they sold a picture of a love story that could survive fame, temptation, and every scandal thrown their way. They didn't just build a family, they built a brand. Cameras followed them inside their home on Snoop Dogg's fatherhood, showing him as a tough but playful dad who raises kids with humor and strict love.
The few like if we really dig, I believe we're gonna find probably 3 or 4 dudes over the years that she had long-term side piece type relationships with.
But behind those scenes, insiders say the truth was way heavier than the show ever let on. People close to the family are now claiming the warning signs were there long before the DNA drama even came into the picture. While Snoop was out here promoting the image of the perfect husband, he was also dealing with rumors of stepping outside the marriage, stories that go all the way back to the late 90s. And in 1998, just 1 year after marrying Shante, he welcomed his son Julian with another woman, Lori Hellman. Snoop admitted the situation publicly at the time, but some close friends say that moment cracked something in the marriage that never fully repaired.
If you look at it, they committed fraud. They committed bankruptcy fraud. I didn't lose my company by doing anything wrong.
Sources in his circle even claim Shante never forgot that moment and used it as silent power, a reminder of who really controlled the money moves, the household, and even the long-term direction of Snoop's career. That situation became a shadow that followed them for decades, even when the cameras weren't rolling. And what makes things even more tangled is the fact that Shante wasn't just his wife.
you're gonna establish yourself as a businessman. That I wasn't taught on Death Row Records. All my cars was in Suge Knight name.
Wow.
She was his manager, his business partner, and the person who filtered everything and everyone that tried to get close to him. That mix of personal and professional power created a dynamic where nothing happened around Snoop without her approval. Some insiders say that once emotions, money, loyalty, and business all got tied together, the line between love and control started looking real thin.
Yeah. But Snoop Lion is the progression of Snoop Dogg. He's the growth into the maturity and has a third eye, and he's able to speak on issues that Snoop Dogg couldn't speak on.
Ever since Shante officially stepped into the boss seat of Snoop's empire back in June 2021, she's been running almost everything around him, from his entertainment deals to his beverage partnerships to the huge 2023 move of bringing Death Row Records back under his name. She was behind the wheel the whole time. In public, Snoop always talked like she was the reason he stayed grounded, saying he wouldn't be where he is without her guidance. But now those same documents that once looked like business wins are starting to look like chains he never noticed until too late. According to someone close to his team, Snoop's lawyers are now digging through every contract trying to figure out if her power came from love or from leverage. And insiders say the pressure between them snapped earlier this year when Suge Knight, the old Death Row boss and one of Snoop's longest rivals, jumped online from prison with a post most people thought was just noise.
When you get to be the age that we at and you get to become as successful as we are, you have to start doing some things that matter for the future.
Back in February 2024, Knight wrote on X that Shante had been taking secret trips to Hawaii with another man. At the time, Snoop's camp brushed it off, calling it nothing more than a bitter man reaching for attention.
And then everybody else was trying to get it, but it was hers. She didn't want to have the LLC. So when 2023 came out.
But now that these alleged DNA results are being discussed behind closed doors, that post doesn't look so random anymore. People are wondering if Knight was dropping the first public clue, about something way deeper than anyone expected.
And as soon as I walked out of there, I went in the bathroom and I threw up. And just laid on the floor for like 30 minutes. His mama came in there and cleaned me up.
Meanwhile, Shante hasn't been sitting in the background. She's been building her own brand at full speed. She runs Boss Lady Entertainment, oversees film and music projects, and co-launched the broadest collection inspired by their daughter's health journey. On paper, she looks like the backbone of Snoop's entire world, both personally and professionally. But something changed in Snoop these past few months, and people around him noticed it instantly.
You know, people see the Snoop Dogg that's polished up and shined up, but they didn't see the one that was a rock, that he's seen the diamond in me.
His whole energy has been different during public appearances, almost like he's carrying a weight he can't talk about. In one NBC interview last fall, he praised her as the good to my bad, trying to keep the same loving image alive. But insiders say he now feels betrayed on a level he never expected, a mix of humiliation and disbelief that's been eating at him quietly. And if these DNA results turn out to be authentic, and the fact that nobody from his official team has denied them yet's telling, then this goes way beyond marriage problems. It raises questions that cut deep into loyalty, trust, and everything the world thought this family stood for. We're not just talking about hurt feelings. We're talking about inheritance, ownership, and the future of a whole multi-million-dollar empire. Every one of Snoop's kids has played a part in building up the broadest name in public. Cord stepped into the music lane like his father, Cordell pushed into films and business ventures, and Corey went after her own music wave and beauty projects, and Julian, the one who stayed more low-key, built a solid path in tech. But if none of them are biologically his, then every partnership and every endorsement tied to the broadest family brand might have to be rechecked from the ground up. The painful twist is that Snoop built a huge part of his image on being a father figure who stood tall for his family. He always let people know he wanted to show a different kind of masculinity, one that lifted his household instead of stepping away from it. In a 2015 interview, he even said his relationship with his children was more important than anything else, calling it a friendship based on mentorship and respect. Now those same words hit differently, carrying a weight he never thought he'd have to deal with. Insiders say this revelation knocked him off balance in a way nobody expected, describing his mood as a mix of shock and controlled anger. They claim he's been meeting with legal teams in Los Angeles since late summer, preparing himself for a confrontation with Shante, not as her partner, but as someone ready to face her like a business opponent if he has to.
I did 3 albums with Master P.
3 albums?
Yeah, when I left Death Row Records, I signed with No Limit Records, which was the hottest rap label in the industry.
At the same time, Suge Knight's comments have dragged old drama right back into the spotlight. Knight, who once mentored Snoop during his early Death Row days, has been using his prison-based podcast to hint that Snoop might have some secrets of his own waiting to come out. In one segment, he even implied that family betrayals were about to surface, tying them to lingering financial issues surrounding Snoop's 2023 takeover of Death Row Records. Back when Suge Knight made those comments, nobody thought much of it. But looking at them now, they almost sound like a coded warning that everybody missed. People are starting to wonder if Knight knew something long before the public did, and that question hits even harder when you remember the history between these two men, years marked by courtroom chaos, street-level tension, and non-stop feuding from the mid-90s onward. Yet in a surprising twist, Snoop forgave his former boss in 2018 and even called him a real one, closing a chapter that fans thought would stay messy forever. When Snoop bought Death Row again, people treated it like the final peace moment between two giants. But now, with these personal revelations blowing up behind the scenes, some insiders think that forgiveness might have opened a door Snoop never meant to unlock. Instead of peace, it might have kicked off a new kind of war, one about reputation, ownership, and legacy more than anything else. And this time, it's not just music beef. It's real-life consequences that could shake the whole empire he built. People in the industry have been pointing out something major. Snoop's business world is deeply tied to Shante's management company. A lot of contracts list her as co-executive on big ventures, which means if divorce papers hit the table, assets could get frozen on the spot. That alone is enough to send shockwaves through any empire. But add in the accusations coming from Suge Knight and the whispers that old legal cases might get fresh attention, and suddenly, this doesn't look like a simple family breakup. It looks like a corporate earthquake. Those legal shadows were never far behind Snoop anyway. From the massive 1996 trial to more recent civil cases tied to events after performances, he's always lived in that space where fame and controversy run side by side. But insiders say this situation hits him differently. They're calling it the shock that broke the foundation of his house. They claim he feels like the betrayal didn't just hit him in the heart, it ruined the very home he spent 3 decades building as a symbol of stability. And if these DNA tests really are authentic, the question sitting over everything is explosive. Who are the real fathers of the children the public has always known as part of the broadest family? And how long has this secret been buried under the polished image of hip-hop's favorite uncle? Some sources whisper about men from inside the entertainment world, others hint at people tied to Shante's business circle, but no one has confirmed a single name. Still, the sudden silence coming from Snoop's inner circle, plus his move out of the family mansion earlier this fall, makes it clear something serious is happening behind locked doors. Even old photos look different now. The vow renewals, the family dinners, the moments of everyone together during Corey's hospital visit. All those images that once looked unbreakable now feel like scenes built on shaky ground. People close to Snoop say this cuts him deeper than any diss or industry conflict ever could, because loyalty was always his guiding principle. And for a man who lived by that code, this betrayal hits like a strike straight to the core. Insiders say he's been quietly building his legal strategy piece by piece, moving like someone preparing for a takeover instead of a breakup. And while the world still thinks this is just a marriage ending, those close to the situation are whispering something very different. They're calling it a corporate coup, because the fight that's coming isn't just personal, it's business at the highest level. Snoop Dogg didn't become a global icon by backing down from pressure, and this time, he's not just defending his marriage, he's fighting for his name, his brand, and everything tied to it. And if the DNA results are real, then this wasn't just a betrayal from a partner, it was something far bigger. She didn't just betray him as a wife, though insiders say she betrayed him as a business partner, a mother figure inside the brand, and the person who shaped the image the whole world believed in. Everything that made Snoop the symbol of hip-hop's maturity, the loyalty, the family-first attitude, the transformation from street energy to polished gentleman, is now hanging by a thin thread that could snap at any moment. What started as private heartbreak has turned into a full-on corporate emergency, the type that could rewrite how the world sees one of the most influential figures in music history. Sources close to Snoop's camp say the legal strategy he's building behind the scenes is unlike anything he's ever done before. His lawyers are gearing up to argue that Shante's alleged deception wasn't just emotional pain, it was straight up financial manipulation that could fall under fraud. For more than 20 years, she handled his contracts, negotiated his endorsements, and managed licensing deals for everything from beverage projects to digital ventures. She was the person standing between Snoop and the entire business world. And if she hid the truth about paternity while acting like the moral compass of the broadest family brand, his team believes that could legally count as misrepresentation. It's a bold strategy, but his circle says it's the only real way to protect the estate he spent decades building. With Snoop's empire valued well into the hundreds of millions, the stakes are massive. This isn't a small family issue, this is a high-stakes power fight with money, legacy, and reputation on the line. If the legal battle goes the wrong way, Shante could walk away with half of everything. The music catalog, the business shares, the death row assets, the partnerships, everything that carries his name. And behind all those numbers, there's a deeper fear insiders keep whispering about: control. Because Shante's position wasn't symbolic. She had real authority over his image, his schedule, his partnerships, and the way he moved in the industry. That power didn't come out of nowhere either. It became fully official in 2021 when she stepped in as his full-time manager, giving her direct access to every deal and every decision tied to his empire. And now, with the truth possibly unraveling, that same power is exactly what makes this situation so explosive. That role cemented her as the executive mind behind Snoop's entire brand, the person who supposedly kept the empire sharp and organized. But insiders say that move might now be under serious review. If the courts decide she used her position to hide personal deception or move assets in a way that wasn't fully transparent, then every single contract she ever touched could get dragged under a legal spotlight. We're talking about audits, reverse deals, and years of financial paperwork being pulled apart line by line, all under a microscope. For an artist who rebuilt his entire image around peace, growth, and reinvention, This would be a brutal shift in the opposite direction. But the situation gets even stranger when you look at what happened inside the family around early 2025. Snoop's daughter, Corey, gave birth extremely early at just 25 weeks after facing major health complications, and the family's public statement called it a miracle, a moment that brought them closer during a tough time. But people inside their circle whisper something completely different, saying the crisis might have been used as a distraction to keep the public focused on sympathy instead of noticing the growing tension between Snoop and Shante. During that same period, Snoop quietly removed several family photos from his social media pages while Shante started showing up to events alone. At the time, nobody thought too deeply about it, but now it's hard not to wonder if the breakdown inside the home had already gone too far to hide. And adding more heat to the situation, Suge Knight has been dropping cryptic messages again from his prison-based podcast. Back in February 2024, he claimed Shante was taking private trips with another man, and most people brushed it off as trolling or old school bitterness, but Knight didn't stop there. Recently he doubled down, hinting that Snoop's rise to the top might have been carefully planned from the background. According to the way Knight framed it, Shante wasn't just a supportive partner, she was a strategist who placed herself at the center of every major business move, making sure nothing, including sensitive situations, ever reached the public without passing through her first. And if even a small part of those claims turns out to be true, the fallout could be massive. This wouldn't just expose a personal betrayal, it could tear apart one of hip-hop's most carefully protected legacies, and the questions keep stacking up faster than anyone can answer them. How long did Shante allegedly know the truth behind the paternity tests? Did someone else in Snoop's camp sense something off? And why would a woman with her own successful company risk everything just to keep a family image alive? Some industry observers say the answer might be reputation control. Over the years, Shante built her entire identity around the loyalty. The woman who forgave, rebuilt, and helped guide her husband into a more mature era. Without that narrative, her brand loses its strongest foundation, and everything she built around it becomes unstable. In that sense, keeping the image clean wasn't just about saving a marriage, it was about holding together an entire empire built on loyalty and unity. People close to Snoop say the emotional weight of all this is written all over him. Friends describe a man bouncing between cold detachment and quiet fury, someone pulling back from the world even while his name trends every single day. He's faced courtroom drama, industry rivals, and wild public accusations before, but insiders swear this feels completely different. One source broke it down simply saying, he's not angry like before, he's hurt. He trusted her with everything, even his name. And for an artist whose whole persona has always been calm, collected authority, the cracks are starting to show in ways nobody expected. This unraveling is also colliding with older whispers that have followed Snoop since the death row era. Rumors that never fully disappeared. Suge Knight's podcast has recently pushed those claims back into the spotlight, hinting that some parts of Snoop's early rise came with hidden strings attached. Deals, quiet alliances, favors behind the scenes, all of which could get pulled back into the conversation if things keep escalating. Nothing is confirmed, but the timing feels calculated, almost like Knight is sensing weakness and choosing this moment to release every cryptic message he's been saving. For the first time in decades, the man who once felt untouchable in music circles looks surrounded from all angles. Legal pressure building up, former allies turning into critics, and a fan base suddenly split in half. People who worked with him for years say this might be the ultimate test of his entire persona. The laid-back, peace-focused icon who always said he preferred uplifting others is now preparing for the most intense battle of his life. Behind closed doors, sources say his legal team is digging through everything, including old contracts, joint assets, licensing rights, even production paperwork from his earliest projects. Their mission is simple: separate Snoop's identity and business structure from hers before the courts combine everything into a single financial pool. But doing that means exposing years of emails, private management decisions, and confidential material that could pull other powerful names straight into the spotlight. And while the legal fight gets heavier, the cultural shockwave is already massive. If fans who grew up seeing Snoop as the blueprint for transformation, quickly going from street life to mainstream success, are struggling to make sense of this twist. The same man who talked about family unity on daytime TV now faces claims that the entire household image may have been a carefully built illusion. Some supporters see him as someone who was manipulated behind the scenes, while others question whether he also played a part by keeping the image alive for so long. It's the kind of contradiction that changes how a legacy is viewed forever. Because if the foundation of Snoop Dogg's public story was built on an untruth, then every award, every fatherhood moment, every motivational speech suddenly hits with a different tone. And we can't ignore how this enormous scandal scandal arrives at the same time, the entertainment industry is already going through major chaos, making the situation feel even bigger than one man's crisis, with other moguls like Diddy facing criminal charge and old scandals exploding back into public view. The entire generation of power players is suddenly under a level of pressure nobody saw coming, and the man everyone thought was the exception, Snoop, the one who survived decades of chaos through humor, charm, and wisdom, might now get pulled into that same wave of scrutiny. The hip-hop world, already shaken by betrayals and lawsuits, is watching this situation like it's the turning point of an era. If things keep unfolding the way insiders expect, this could mark the collapse of a whole chapter in music history, where image mattered more than truth. Every sign points toward a major confrontation that could rewrite everything fans thought they knew. Shante, who still hasn't made an official statement, is reportedly building her own legal squad, ready to fight for her version of the story. People close to her say she'll claim she built the broadest empire side by side with Snoop and deserves equal respect and equal compensation. If that argument hits the courtroom, we could end up witnessing one of the biggest, most public, and most heated divorces modern entertainment has ever seen. This wouldn't be private heartbreak. This would turn into a full courtroom saga with witnesses from decades back. Imagine former label bosses, old business partners, family members, and maybe even Suge Knight himself being subpoenaed to speak. It would turn Snoop's personal pain into a televised reckoning that the whole world will dissect. Right now, all anyone can do is watch as Snoop Dogg's life balances between empire and exposure. The same man who built a career telling the world to keep it real is now being forced to show exactly how real or how staged his world truly was. And one thing is guaranteed: this fight will not happen quietly. Every move he makes, every court filing, every post, every appearance will get picked apart by millions, because this isn't just a breakup, this is a power shift. When the king of the West Coast starts losing control inside his own home, the entire kingdom feels the shockwave. So the question now becomes, if the truth finally comes out, does Snoop rise again as the survivor everyone believed in? Or does he become another cautionary tale inside an industry famous for illusions and hidden agendas? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell, because this story is nowhere near finished. See you on the next one.